Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're heading somewhere really captivating, a place often called India's Queen of the Hills.
Darjeeling.
Exactly, Darjeeling. It's nestled up there in the Lesser Himalayas, maybe, what, 2,000 meters? About 700 feet up?
Right, in West Bengal. Incredible spot.
It really is. It's this amazing blend of just stunning natural beauty, a really layered colonial history, and, well, you can almost smell it, that world-famous tea.
Hmm.
So our mission today is sort of unpack how this relatively small gem became such a huge cultural and historical landmark, and of
Yeah.
course what makes that tea just so legendary.
Yeah, there's a lot to dig into there.
We'll definitely explore the scenery, the history behind how it all developed, that amazing Darjeeling Himalayan Railway,
The toy train.
the toy train, yes. And naturally we'll dive into the story of the champagne of teas.
Sounds good. Where do we start?
Let's start with the feel of the place. Just trying to picture Darjeeling's atmosphere. Think these vast, lush green hills rolling on. And then bam, the backdrop is the snow-capped peaks of Kanchenjunga.
The world's third highest mountain. It's a view that genuinely stops you in your tracks.
You can imagine.
Yeah. And it's not just the big mountain views either. You're right there amongst these, like, terraced tea gardens that just seem to flow down the hillsides.
Like green waterfalls.
Kind of.
Oh.
And you've got these vibrant rhododendron forests, pops of color everywhere, and then sprinkled throughout this charming colonial-era architecture. It really does feel like stepping back in time a bit.
And it's not just a pretty picture, is it? You mentioned it's a cultural mosaic.
Absolutely. It's a real melting pot. You have large communities of Nepalese, Bengalis, Tibetans, the indigenous Lepchas, all living together.
So that contributes a lot to the feel.
Definitely. It creates this rich mix of traditions, languages, festivals. You can, really feel how all these different layers, the nature, the history, the people, they all mesh together to create this uniquely tranquil yet vibrant atmosphere.
That makes sense. A living tapestry, as you say. And it's fascinating how from that specific environment, that landscape, came something else. Darjeeling is famous for worldwide.
The tea.
The tea, often called the champagne of teas.
Hmm.
It has this really distinct flavor profile, doesn't it? Light color, floral notes.
Very delicate, yeah. It's
Yeah.
quite unlike teas from other regions.
But why? Why is it so special? What's the secret?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It really comes down to a unique combination of factors. We're talking about the specific altitude, the soil, the climate,
Okay.
and how those interact with the traditional ways they pluck and process the tea leaves. The soil, for example, is quite acidic, loamy, well-drained, perfect for tea bushes, and is full of minerals from the Himalayas.
So it's not just any old mountain soil, it's this soil.
Exactly. And then there's the altitude, plus the constant mists that roll in, the specific quality of the sunlight.
Yeah.
It all slows down the leaf growth.
Slow growth is good.
In this case, yes. It concentrates the natural compounds in the leaves,
Yeah.
things like polyphenols, the volatile aromatics. That's what gives Darjeeling tea its incredibly delicate, complex, almost fruity or floral notes. Some people call it muscatel.
Muscatel, like the grape.
Precisely that kind of aroma profile. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like this natural alchemy that just happens right there in that specific spot.
That's incredible. And there are some really famous tea estates there, right? Places people can actually visit.
Oh, absolutely. You've got Happy Valley Tea Estate, for instance. It's one of the oldest, established way back in 1854. They do factory tours, tastings, so you can see the whole process.
Wow, 1854.
Then there's Makai Bari. They were real pioneers in organic and biodynamic farming.
Biodynamic, what does that involve exactly?
Well, basically, it treats the whole farm as one living organism. Super focused on soil health, biodiversity, no synthetic chemicals. The idea is it makes the tea itself, healthier and enhances its natural flavor. And you've also got places like Glenburn Tea Estate, which is known for combining high-quality tea production with luxury accommodation. So you can stay right there on the estate.
Oh, that sounds amazing, waking up among the tea plants.
Right. Imagine walking through the gardens in the morning mist and then tasting the tea right where it grew. And these are just a few examples. There are over 80 tea estates across the Darjeeling district. Many offer homestays, plantation walks, tastings. Really immersive experiences.
A tea lover's paradise, truly. Okay, so we have this stunning place, perfect for tea. But how did it become this developed hub? What's the origin story?
Well, you have to go back to the early 19th century. Back then, it was pretty sparsely populated, mostly forests and mountains, and it was technically part of the Kingdom of Sikkim.
Okay.
The big shift started around 1828. Some British officials were exploring the area. They were looking for strategic locations, sure, but also, crucially, for places with a cooler climate.
Escaping the heat of the plains.
Exactly. They identified Darjeeling as just ideal for a sanatorium, basically a health resort or retreat for British personnel suffering from the heat and diseases of the lowlands. The climate was perfect.
A little piece of cooler England, maybe?
Sort of, yeah. And it moved quickly from there. By 1835, the British East India Company had arranged a lease for the land from the Chogyal, the king of Sikkim.
A lease, not a conquest.
Traditionally a lease, yes, though the relationship became more complex later. But that lease in 1835 really kicked off the transformation. The British started developing it intensively as a hill station.
What did that involve? What kind of development?
A lot. Roads had to be built, tough engineering in those hills. They established prominent schools like St. Paul's and Loreto Convent, which are still famous today. Churches went up, administrative buildings, houses, lots of that distinctive Victorian-style architecture you still see.
So they were really building a functional town, a retreat for themselves.
Absolutely. They were recreating a familiar environment, a base for the administration and military, and a place for families to live comfortably, away from the heat. It tells you a lot about their priorities.
And speaking of engineering and infrastructure, we have to talk about the railway, the toy train.
Ah, yes, the Darjeeling Himalayan Railway, the DHR, an absolute icon. Completed in 1881, it was just an incredible feat of engineering for its time.
How so? What was so difficult?
Well, think about it. A narrow-gauge railway line climbing from near sea level at Siliguri up to over 2,000 meters at Darjeeling, winding through incredibly steep, mountainous terrain. They needed ingenious solutions like loops and reverses zigzags just to manage the gradient.
Like the Batuja Loop.
Exactly. The Batasia Loop is probably the most famous example. It's no wonder it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
It really speaks volumes about its importance, historically and technically.
It does,
Yeah.
and riding it today, it's still operational, some sections at least.
Yes,
It
yeah.
really is like stepping back in time.
You can imagine.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's slow, it winds through forests and villages, you get these amazing views unfolding. It gives you a real sense of that historical journey, that ascent from the plains, a truly scenic, nostalgic experience.
Incredible. So the British are developing the town, building the railway. What about the tea connection? When did that come in?
Right, that was happening almost in parallel. Tea cultivation was introduced experimentally around the 1840s. A civil surgeon named Dr. Archibald Campbell was a key figure there. He tried planting some Chinese tea seeds near his residence in Darjeeling.
And they took.
They did.
Yeah.
The conditions, as we discussed, were perfect. It quickly became clear that Darjeeling could produce exceptional tea, and commercial cultivation just exploded.
So the champagne of teas really started to shape the region's destiny then,
Absolutely. It became the economic engine, the backbone of Darjeeling's economy fairly rapidly.
which must have had other effects too, right? Beyond just economics.
Oh, massive effects, particularly demographically. As the tea estates grew and multiplied, they needed a huge amount of labor for planting, plucking, processing.
Labor that wasn't necessarily there initially.
Exactly. The area was sparsely populated. So the British administration and the estate owners actively encouraged and brought in laborers, primarily from neighboring Nepal, but also from Sikkim, Bhutan, and other parts of India.
Ah, okay. So that's the origin of the cultural mix we talked about earlier.
Precisely. This large-scale migration, driven by the tea industry, fundamentally reshaped Darjeeling's population. It created the diverse, multi-ethnic, multilingual society that defines the place today. It really makes you think, doesn't it? How often does this kind of rapid economic development, especially driven by a single industry, lead to such profound cultural and demographic shifts?
That's a really crucial point. The success of the tea literally imported the diversity. So fast forward to today, people still go for the tea, obviously.
Of course.
But what else draws visitors to Darjeeling now? It seems like there's much more.
Oh, definitely. It's a major tourist destination for lots of reasons. For breathtaking views, you absolutely have to get up early for the sunrise over Kanchenjunga from Tiger Hill.
I've heard about that. Worth the early start.
Totally worth it. On a clear day, it's unforgettable. And then there's the Batasia Loop we mentioned. Even if you don't ride the train the whole way, the loop itself is a viewpoint with incredible panoramas.
Okay, what else?
Well, for a different vibe, there's the Peace Pagoda, a beautiful white stupa built by Japanese Buddhists, and the nearby Japanese temple. Very serene. And for anyone interested in mountaineering, the Himalayan Mountaineering Institute is a must-visit. It has a fascinating museum about Everest expeditions and the history of climbing in the region. Tennessee in Norgay was associated with it for a long time.
Right, that makes sense given the location. And what about just soaking up the local atmosphere?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You have to explore the local markets. Tarasta, the main square, is great for people watching. You can find unique handicrafts, woolens, Tibetan artifacts.
And food. I imagine the food reflects the cultural mix too.
Oh, definitely. You have to try the local food. Momos, steamed dumplings, usually with meat or vegetable fillings, are everywhere and delicious. And thukpa, a hearty noodle soup, is perfect for the cool weather. It really shows that blend of Nepali, Tibetan, and Bengali influences.
Sounds wonderful. It really paints a picture of a place with so many different facets to explore.
It really does. It encourages you to look beyond just the famous tea gardens and dive into the history, the culture, the sheer beauty of the Himalayas.
So wrapping things up, it's pretty clear Darjeeling is so much more than just, a pretty hill station. It's this complex story woven from colonial history, vibrant, diverse cultures,
Yeah.
incredible natural beauty, and of course that unmistakable aroma of its world-class tea.
It really is a timeless kind of escape, isn't it? A place that stays with you.
Definitely leaves a mark.
Which brings us to a final thought, maybe for you to ponder. Given Darjeeling's unique blend of natural beauty, its colonial past, and this rich cultural tapestry we've discussed, how do you think its history of economic and demographic transformation continues to shape its identity, both for the people who live there and for visitors, even today?